Hey everyone, I am here at the Oregon State Capitol in Salem, Oregon for the Defend the Second rally put on by Noveski and Radian Weapons. I've been talking about this for a while, and as you guys know, I'm a big proponent of staying politically active to defend our rights as Americans and as Oregonians specifically here. I was up here about a month ago to talk to my state representative about SB 501, which I have a whole video on. I think it's extremely important that we participate in our local governments, in our local elections, and I really think it's important to come to things like this. Now, we are still early, it hasn't even started yet, but there's several hundred people up there, and it's hard to see because it's pretty flat out here. I couldn't get a high angle, but you know, easily hundreds of people here already, and it's only going to get bigger over the next few hours. We got people like Adam Kraut here to talk. We got the Radian Weapons guys to talk. Should be a really awesome gathering, but I'm going to be doing as much coverage here as I can, doing some interviews. I may or may not have already done one or two. It's the magic of editing, as I get to put things where I want them. But it should be really cool. Obviously, if you're watching this, it's too late to come to this one, but come to things like this. It's really important no matter what state you're in, whether or not you think your vote matters or anything like that. At least coming to a place like this and showing out in numbers does make a big difference, and it is noticeable. So definitely participate in stuff like this. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead. They're about to do the national anthem, so be waiting for a lot more coverage here from Defend the Second rally in Salem, Oregon. And I'm with the Adam Kraut. You may know him from channels like The Gun Collective, doing things like The Legal Brief, which I would say is a great resource of someone who actually knows the laws and knows what they're talking about important things that we should be aware of as gun owners. But you're not from Oregon, so why are you here right now?
Well, actually, Radian invited me to come speak at the event. I guess they also think I have important things to say and that I know maybe what I'm talking about here and there. So I agreed to come speak at the event. So I'm here, and I'm also going to be delivering a few remarks on behalf of Firearms Policy Coalition, too.
Awesome. And to be fair, we're here like 30 minutes before the official start. There's a really good turnout behind us so far. How does this compare to some of the other rallies you've been to across the country?
This one, actually, it's sizable. I'm very impressed with the turnout. It seems that Oregon gun owners have decided that they are going to take this seriously. I've been to rallies in Pennsylvania. You know, we have an annual rally every year. I've been to rallies in Delaware as well. So I'm impressed, and I'm very happy with the turnout. I'm not disappointed at all.
Awesome. Well, that's good to hear. Now, one problem that I run into a lot is there's a lot of people who are really apathetic towards things like this. They don't think that this isn't going to make any difference. What's the point in going to a rally like this? What would you say to someone like that?
Well, there's a couple things. I mean, one, rallies themselves are inherently a rally. It's a gathering of people. It's a good place to meet others that are like-minded, things like that. To some degree, it doesn't have necessarily the effect some people think it does, but on the other hand, it also does have a good effect. It shows that gun owners care, but stopping what you're doing just by merely attending a rally and not doing anything past that isn't the answer. This is a good starting point.
Sure.
There's more work to be done after, and I'm going to be talking about that later today.
Awesome. Yeah, so obviously if you're watching this now, it's too late to come to this one, but I would heavily encourage you to go to your local rallies, participate in your local government, absolutely. Vote for things like sheriff, because that kind of thing really does matter. You know, I'm sure you've seen, like in Washington and other states, a lot
of sheriffs disclaiming that they're not going to enforce gun laws. Exactly.
Like that sheriff is that last line of defense in the executive side of things to make sure that your county can be protected from these unconstitutional laws. So it's extremely important. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of mentioned it. Participation in government does absolutely matter. You live in a country where you have the ability to do so. So even just exercising that ability, whether you think it makes a difference or not, is you have that right. Go use it. And you know, that's really what it boils down to. A lot of people are apathetic about their vote doesn't count, but when you're talking particularly about local elections, it absolutely does matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to throw this plug in here. He said we didn't have to talk about it, but Adam Kraut, you are running for the board of directors for the NRA.
Yeah.
We need people like him who believe in not just, you know, sporting, you know, shotguns or anything like that. You actually believe in the intent behind the Second Amendment and making sure that us as civilians maintain those rights that allow us access to those. So I really appreciate that. And if you are a voting member of the NRA, make sure you cast your vote for Adam Kraut. But thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
Again, come out to rallies like this, check out the Legal Brief over on the Gun Collective, and follow everything this guy's doing, because a lot of great content coming your way from there. So thank you very much for talking to us.
My pleasure.
And we'll be doing a lot more coverage here from the Defend the Second rally. I'm here with Josiah Underwood. You are the Chief Operations?
Yeah, I'm their Operations Director for Radian. Yep.
Okay, Director of Operations for Radian. And if you guys don't know, Radian is located here in Oregon. They're the ones who make the famous charging handles, the Talon safeties, as well as the very, very nice rifles, like the Model 1s. Anyway, you guys are the main organizers for this event.
Yeah.
So what made you guys decide to organize an event like this?
Well, first and foremost, I think that we saw what was happening at the state level in our legislative body, and we were really concerned with the proposals that we consider to be nothing less than draconian. Basically, if the laws that they were proposing in the House and Senate, whether it be SB 501 or another one of the proposals, what you're going to end up having is people who have previously purchased property with their money becoming felons if they do not give that up to the government. And if that's not tyranny in your mind, I'm not really sure what is. And so we felt like we needed to try to organize something that would give voice to Second Amendment supporters of the Constitution. And really, we needed to put our money where our mouth is. We've been profiting off the Second Amendment by selling products that we make for years at a time, and we felt like that it was appropriate for us to try to get involved in a political way to stand up against these type of proposals.
And that's awesome, because there's a lot of companies who do just profit off the Second Amendment, and then when push comes to shove, they kind of back down a little bit, make compromises. I've done videos about that. I don't want to name drop in this video, but there's one of the problems that I see in our community is there's a lot of people who are very apathetic towards the governmental process of making our voices heard. They say, well, there's no reason for me to go to a rally like this because my vote doesn't matter, especially in a blue state like Oregon. They think, it doesn't matter. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. There's nothing we can do about it. What would you say to someone who has that feeling?
You know, I would say that it's easy to feel that way, but the only way you can possibly make a difference is, one, by voting for representatives that you think are going to enact your interests, and then two, after you have your representative in office and it's not an election cycle, you have to bug them. Now, I live in Deschutes County, and my representative is Sherry Help, and I have meetings planned with her. I email her all the time. I call her. When I see a bill that pops up on the NRA ILA email list or something like that, I immediately contact her and let her know that I'm standing against that. And you might have a representative that is anti-gun, but you can best believe that if enough people in their county is bothering them and hitting them up and saying, we do not want this legislation, and if you enact it, you're going to lose your seat, either through a recall or at the next election cycle, they will take note of that. These people do not care about gun violence, about gun rights. What they care about is their ability to maintain power. And that really is the truth across the political aisle. And so it's up to us as constituents, as a representative government, to give them a piece of our mind whenever possible. And this relates to everything, taxes, other social issues, but it's super important because the nice thing about the Second Amendment is it is a constitutional amendment that's protected by both the federal Constitution and the state Constitution. We have that on our side, and so the only thing we really need to do is speak out. Donate to organizations that truly stand up for our rights, like Firearms Policy Coalition. You can support the NRA, you can support other efforts that are going to happen like this from a grassroots level, but you have to get involved. There is no excuse to not be involved if you care about the Constitution and if you care about private gun ownership.
Absolutely. And I think the whole thought process of, well, my vote doesn't matter, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It is, yeah.
Because if you're not going to participate in the process that our founders set up, again, whether it be the federal constitution or a state constitution, which very important to educate yourself. Like, I'm ashamed that it was only very recently that I read the Oregon Bill of Rights, found out it was more explicitly pro-gun than
is.
even the federal Constitution. So you have to educate yourself and you have to participate. If you don't participate, then there's no way that you're going to get what you want out of the government. And not only like at the state representative level, sheriff's offices.
Yeah.
Local sheriff's office is one of the most important things you can do, because we just saw in Washington with 1639, all these sheriffs saying, hey, you can do what you want, but we're not going to infringe on our constitutional rights of the people in our county. And that's that last line of defense basically on that executive side, saying we're not going to follow these unconstitutional laws. So you really do have to participate. Do you have any advice for someone who wants to organize an event in their home state or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, again, I'm really, I feel very strongly that companies that are in this space need to get involved. And so if you're a member of an organization that sells products to the Second Amendment community and you're not privately or publicly traded, or you don't have massive military contracts or something like that, you need to get involved in the process and support your constituents. If you have people that are buying your products that are guns that are being targeted by legislation, it really is your responsibility as profiteers on that business to stand up for people that support you. That's the first thing is my thought. The second thing is, if you're an individual, I mean, it really is just as simple as this getting involved. Like if you see an event that's happening like this in your area, or you want to start your own event, it really took a lot of work. Luckily, we were able to raise a lot of money for this event because we're a business that has sales channels and all the big reach on social media and mailing lists and things like that. But if you're an individual and you want to organize something like that, give yourself a little bit of time for planning. Make sure that you think through all the logistical considerations for doing an event like this. You got to get your permitting for being on a public space like this. Yeah. So just give yourself enough time to do proper planning and get as much word out there as possible, because the encouraging thing about this event particularly is that there are thousands of Oregonians who on a Saturday, while the Ducks are playing in the NCAA tournament and the main tournament's going on, there are thousands of Oregonians who showed up here today. There's men, women, children. There are people that are members of the LGBTQ community. There are African Americans. There's a large sect of people in our country that support the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, and they support gun ownership. So you really have to get involved. If you're going to plan an event, give yourself plenty of time and raise as much money as you possibly can.
Yeah. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance.
That's right.
So, as he said, get involved. Whatever you can do, contribute whatever you can. I'm not saying everyone out there has to organize an event like this, but if someone is doing one near you, see if you can help, and at very least show up and participate in our political process and let your representatives know where you stand on issues so that they can better represent you, hopefully. Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen, but the more we press them, the more likely it is to happen. Anything else you want to add?
No, I appreciate the interview to talk to you today and your viewers on YouTube and your other channels. And again, I would just encourage everybody that supports the Constitution is that you just got to get involved. You can make a big difference as an individual, and individuals, you know, can quickly become large groups of people that can make a positive impact in our country. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to everyone that attended the event and supported us by buying the special edition charging handle and safety that we made for the event. And yeah, just thanks a lot.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Well, I definitely appreciate your time, and I really appreciate you as a company being willing to put your money where your mouth is and put on an event like this. There's a lot of firearms companies in Oregon, and not very many putting their name behind an event like this. So I really, really do appreciate that. It means a lot to me as a consumer, and it should mean a lot to everyone else watching this as consumers to know there are companies that have your back, and we really need to support those companies. So again, thanks for your time, and appreciate the interview.
Appreciate it.
Definitely keep watching for more coverage here of the Defend the Second Rally in Salem, Oregon. So as I get ready to leave this Defend the Second rally, I just wanted to take an opportunity to kind of close up my thoughts and explain why I think it's really important to come out to an event like this. We've had some really great impassioned speakers who've raised some awesome points. We've had people like Adam Kraut, who I got to interview, come and bring his expertise to the discussion. And we also got to hear from Josiah at Radian, and I really appreciate their willingness to come talk to me and talk to you guys about why they come to events like this, why they put on events like this, and let you know why it's important to participate. Again, the government is all elected by us, and if we don't participate in that electoral process, then you have no right to complain about what those elected officials do. And even if you don't agree with who does come into office, you know where they work. You can come, set up a meeting with them, talk to them, let them know how you feel, let them know why you feel that way, and hopefully we can enact change that goes along with our worldview. The world is changing, people's ideologies are changing, and if you don't make your voice heard, there's no way for them to be able to keep that kind of stuff going. So I really appreciate Radian Weapons putting on an event like this, and I really love seeing thousands of people come out here in Oregon to fight for our Second Amendment rights. And here's the thing, even though there's several thousand people behind me, I know that's not everybody. There's a lot more of us that need to be willing to come and stake our names to this and show that we will not put up with the different bills that are being proposed, and make sure our elected officials know where we stand on issues like this. So again, hope you got something out of this video, and I really appreciate you watching.